Okay, so in the last video we looked at using the AND and the separator for printing, and here we printed two different data types without having to join strings together. Now in this video we'll be looking at something called the fstring, but before we do that, let me just kind of remind us of how annoying joining strings can sometimes be. Okay, so here we just have some simple program demonstrating the two ways we now know how to print strings and variables out onto the screen. So the first way right here, number 3, is using the joining, so the plus. So here we will have to say hello. We then artificially add a space right here. Then the name is a string, so that's good. We don't have to convert that. Then again, the period, another artificial space, name again, artificial space, word, artificial space. Then we have the age. But age is a number, so we have to convert it, and so on and so forth, right? So writing this out is kind of annoying. And then we learned a second way, which is using the commas. So here we're not creating one big string like we did up here. Here we're just printing individual elements onto the screen. So we're printing hello, we're printing name, and all these. In this case, we don't have to put the artificial space, and we don't have to convert the age to a string, but it's still a little annoying, and in some cases, like right here, there will be a space automatically put in when we don't want that. So if I run this, this is what we get, and here's that space. Okay, both of these ways are annoying, even though the first one's probably more annoying, but then the second one is annoying because how do you deal with the space? So this is where fstrings come in. So fstring. Now, just to begin, the fstrings, they won't seem that different, but then when we get into the nooks and crannies, it will kind of seem much nicer, much more straightforward, and it also comes with the added benefit that we will be able to format numbers. Okay, so how do we start an fstring? Well, to start, we just have to print, then we put quotation marks, we can say hello world, so this is the old way, but if in front of the quotation mark I put the letter F, boom, suddenly I have an fstring. And so if I run this, nothing's going to seem different, but as soon as we start adding variables and all this stuff, you'll see the strength of this. So let's try to recreate what we have up here using the fstring. So I can say print F quotation marks. Now I will say hello, but now we're saying hello to Bob, right? So hello space. Now I open up a squiggly brackets and I put name in here. And you'll notice that squiggly brackets in the name is white because now we're talking about a variable, no longer a string. But now, outside of the squiggly brackets, we will put a period, space, and again, name is age, years old. So here, we don't have to convert again. We also don't have to constantly close and open these quotation marks. And we get to control where we put our spaces and where we don't. So if I run this, we get the phrase that we wanted. Okay, so immediately this to me is a selling point, but there's also the second selling point, which is the ability to format your numbers. And what I mean by that is if you print, let's just say 1 divided by 3, just normally, we will get 0.33333, a bunch of 3's. But say you're making a program and you need to display this number, most of the time you do not need to display this many decimals. So how could you just display the first two, for example, decimals? And the way you do that is you just put F, so an F string, you put a number into the squiggly brackets as well, otherwise it sees it as a string, so we'll put that into the squiggly brackets. Then inside of this squiggly bracket we'll put a colon and we will say we want 2 decimal spots. So to signify that we want 2 decimal spots, we'll put period for decimal spots, we'll put 2 for 2 decimal spots, and we'll also put the letter F because we are dealing with floats or decimal numbers. So if I run this now, you see that our number is now showing 2 decimal spots. And you can also change the number to 3 if you want 3 decimal spots and so on. Now what we can also do is say for the age here, you want to reserve 2 spots in your sentence, right? So right now, if I just put a colon 2, nothing's going to change here. Okay, there's still it still says Bob is space 50 space years old. But now suddenly if Bob's age is 5, then it will say Bob space is space 5 years old. So here there's 2 spaces. And so in this case, if I have this sentence printed twice, and the second time the age is 50, you'll see that the numbers line up, right? So there's an extra indent here with the 5 because we reserved 5 spots right there. To really highlight this, let me reserve 10 spots, and it's putting the number into those 10 spots. Now with this reservation, it might sometimes be useful to move this 50 to the very left hand side and move this 5 to the very left hand side. And the way you do that is by putting the left arrow or the less than sign in front of the 10. So all the numbers are on the left side. If you put the up, so shift 6, 5 will be in the middle. Or, I mean, by default it's right aligned, but the greater than sign will right align it as well. And you can also change the formatting. So if I want it to say 5.0, then I can just say comma is 0.1f. So it says 5.0 because we are reserving 10 spots. We're center aligning it, and then I also want 1 floating point decimal spot right here. And other things that you can use, you can format it for percentages by using the percent sign. So in this case, the value 50 in percent is 5,000, right? If I do 0.5, right, in decimal numbers, 0.5 is 50%. 1 is 100%, 0 is 0%. So in this case, it will say 50. And again, if you want to have just 1 or 2 decimal spots, then right behind the 10, you put a comma and then 0.2 and then that percent sign. So here it is. Okay, so hopefully that kind of made sense, and I hope that you now see the strength of fstrings. In the next few videos, I will continue using just the joining strings, but probably by the time we get to loops, I will be switching to the fstrings.